They said I was too old to live alone. What they meant was, too valuable to leave unsupervised. My daughter stood in my kitchen, holding a lockbox catalog like it was a Bible. "Mom, we're just trying to protect you," she said, her voice dripping with that particular brand of condescension reserved for children speaking to parents. "They've decided are no longer competent. You're 78. You shouldn't have access to your own accounts without supervision." Supervision. That word hung in the air between us like a noose. I looked at her, really looked at her, this woman I had raised, whose scraped knees I had bandaged, whose college tuition I had paid by working double shifts at the hospital, whose wedding I had funded by selling my mother's pearl necklace. And I realized with stunning clarity that she saw me not as her mother, but as an asset to be managed. "Get out of my house," I said quietly. She laughed. Actually laughed. "Mom, you're being dramatic. We're family. We're doing this because we love you. But love doesn't forge signatures. Love doesn't drain bank accounts. And love certainly doesn't try to have you declared incompetent, so it can take control of everything you've spent a lifetime building." I didn't know it yet. But that morning in my kitchen was the beginning of a war I never wanted to fight. A war where the weapons were legal documents, where the battlefield was my own home, and where the enemy wore the face of the child I had once held to my chest and promised to protect forever. Some promises. I would learn. Don't go both ways. It started with a phone call on a Tuesday morning in September. The leaves were just beginning to turn, that brief moment when Michigan looks like it's been dipped in gold. I was having my coffee on the back porch, watching the squirrels raid the bird feeder I'd hung too low, when my phone rang. "Mrs. Patricia Hoffman?" The voice was young, female, professional. Speaking. "This is Jennifer from First National Bank. I'm calling about some unusual activity on your accounts." My heart did that little skip it does when something feels wrong. "What kind of activity?" "Several large transfers over the past 3 weeks, totaling approximately $47,000. We wanted to verify these were authorized by you." The coffee cup nearly slipped from my hand. I didn't authorize any transfers. There was a pause, the kind that means bad news is coming. "The transfers were made online using your credentials, Mrs. Hoffman. They went to an account belonging to, let me see, Rebecca Hoffman Martinez. Is that your daughter?" "Rebecca, my only child, the one who called every Sunday, who brought her children over for birthdays, who I trusted with everything." "Yes," I whispered. "That's my daughter." "And you didn't authorize these transfers?" No, I didn't. After I hung up, I sat on that porch for over an hour, watching the gold leaves fall and feeling something inside me fall with them. Trust, maybe, or the last remnants of the family I thought I had. My husband, Daniel, had passed away 18 months earlier. A heart attack in his sleep, quick and merciful, which was more than I could say for the grief that followed. We had been married for 52 years. 52 years of building a life together, of saving every penny we could, of planning for a future where we'd watch our grandchildren grow, where we'd travel to all the places we'd always talked about. Instead, I watched him lowered into the ground on a rainy October afternoon, while Rebecca held my elbow and told me everything would be okay, that she'd take care of me, that I'd never have to worry about anything. I should have heard the promise underneath the promise. After Daniel died, the loneliness was crushing. The house felt too big, too quiet, too full of memories that had nowhere to go. Rebecca started coming over more often. She'd bring groceries, help with bills, sit with me while I cried. She was my lifeline, my connection to the world of the living. "Mom, let me add my name to your accounts," she said one evening, maybe 2 months after the funeral, "just in case something happens, so I can help you pay bills, handle emergencies." It made sense. I was grieving, distracted, forgetting to pay the electric bill, letting mail pile up. Having help seemed reasonable. I signed the papers she brought. I didn't read them carefully. Why would I? She was my daughter, that was my first mistake. Not my last, but perhaps the most costly. After the phone call from the bank, I started paying attention. Really paying attention, and once you start looking for cracks, you see them everywhere. The next Sunday, Rebecca came over as usual, bringing the grandchildren, Sophia, 10, and Marcus, 7. They ran into the house like small tornadoes, and I pulled Rebecca aside in the kitchen. "I got a call from the bank," I said, keeping my voice level. "About transfers from my account to yours?" Her face didn't change. Not a flicker of surprise or guilt. She'd had time to prepare. "Oh, that," she said, pulling out her phone and scrolling like this was a minor inconvenience. "I was going to talk to you about that. The air conditioning unit died at our house. Emergency replacement. I knew you'd want to help with the grandkids' comfort, so I just took care of it. I was going to tell you, $47,000 for an air conditioner?" She looked up then, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Calculation. There were other things. The roof needed work. Some medical bills. You know how it is? No, I don't know how it is. Because you didn't ask me. Mom. She set her phone down and reached for my hand. I pulled it away. "You've been so out of it since Dad died. I didn't want to burden you with every little thing. I have power of attorney. I'm allowed to make these decisions." "You have what?" Her smile was patient, patronizing. "Remember those papers you signed? One of them gave me power of attorney. For your protection, Mom, in case you become unable to handle things yourself." The room tilted slightly. "I never agreed to that. You signed it." "It's legal. And honestly, given how you've been lately, forgetting things, getting confused, maybe it's for the best." I wasn't confused. I wasn't forgetting things. But I could see what she was doing. Building a narrative. Creating a story where I was the incompetent elderly woman who needed her capable daughter to manage her life. "I want you to return that money." "Mom, I can't. It's already spent. But don't worry, there's plenty more. Dad left you very comfortable." The way she said it, like my husband's life insurance and our retirement savings were a resource for her to tap into, made something cold settle in my chest. After she left, I went through my files. Every paper I'd signed, every document, every statement. It took me 3 days, but I found them. The power of attorney. The joint account agreements. The beneficiary changes on my life insurance policies. I hadn't just given her access to my money. I'd given her control of my entire financial life. And if something happened to me, she'd inherit everything immediately, bypassing probate, bypassing questions. I sat at Daniel's old desk in the study and I cried. Not gentle tears, but the harsh, choking kind that come from betrayal so deep it reaches your bones. Then I dried my eyes, picked up the phone and called an attorney. Margaret Chen's office was in a modest building downtown, sandwiched between a coffee shop and an accounting firm. I'd found her name in the yellow pages. Yes, I still use the yellow pages, under elder law. She was younger than I expected, maybe mid-40s, with sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses and a handshake that said she took me seriously. "Tell me everything," she said. And I did. I told her about the transfers, about the documents I'd signed without understanding, about Rebecca's increasingly controlling behavior, how she'd started commenting on my driving, suggesting I shouldn't be on the road, how she'd mentioned memory loss to my friends, how she'd begun talking about better living situations and assisted care facilities. Margaret listened without interrupting, taking notes in neat handwriting that felt oddly comforting. "Mrs. Hoffman," she said when I finished, What you're describing is financial exploitation. It's a form of elder abuse, and it's more common than people think. Especially when the perpetrator is a family member. Perpetrator. The word felt harsh, criminal, but accurate. Can I get my money back? We can try. But first, we need to protect what's left. I'm going to walk you through several steps, and they're going to feel extreme. Some might even feel cruel. But I need you to understand that you're not the one being cruel. You're protecting yourself from someone who's already shown they're willing to take advantage of you. I nodded. What do I need to do? First, we're going to revoke that power of attorney. Then we're going to remove her from all your accounts. We'll change all your passwords, security questions, everything. I'm also going to recommend you change the locks on your house. She has a key. I know. That's why we're changing them. Over the next 2 weeks, I did everything Margaret told me to do. I opened new bank accounts at a different institution. I moved every penny. I changed the locks, hired a locksmith who came on a Wednesday morning when I knew Rebecca would be at work. I updated my will, removing her as executor and beneficiary, redirecting everything to a charitable trust Margaret helped me establish. I even installed a Ring doorbell camera, something I'd never imagined needing. Every step felt like I was cutting away a piece of my heart. But Margaret kept reminding me, "You're not abandoning your daughter." She abandoned her integrity. There's a difference. The day I revoked the power of attorney, I sat in Margaret's office and signed the documents with a hand that shook but didn't hesitate. Then I wrote a letter. Dear Rebecca, I know what you've been doing. I know about the money. I know you've been positioning me as incompetent to justify taking more. As of today, you no longer have access to my accounts, my home, or my legal affairs. I've changed everything. Don't try to contact me unless you're ready to have an honest conversation about returning what you took. I raised you to be better than this. Mom, I mailed it certified, requiring signature. I wanted her to know I meant every word. She showed up 3 days later. I watched her on the Ring camera pulling into my driveway in her silver SUV, the one she'd probably bought with my money. She tried her key. It didn't work. She tried it again, jiggling the handle like the lock was broken rather than changed. Then she started pounding on the door. Mom! Mom! I know you're in there! Open the door! I stayed in the kitchen, hands wrapped around a cup of tea I wasn't drinking, watching her on my phone screen. Mom, this is ridiculous. Whatever someone told you, whatever you think happened, we can talk about it. I'm your daughter. The neighbors were starting to look. Mrs. Chen from across the street had paused her yard work. The Johnsons' curtains twitched. Rebecca's voice cracked. Mom, please. The kids miss you. I miss you. Just let me in and we'll figure this out. It would have been easy to open the door. To let her in. To listen to her explanations. To let myself believe that maybe I'd misunderstood. That maybe there was a reasonable explanation for everything. But I'd seen the bank statements. I'd seen the pattern. And I knew that the moment I opened that door, I'd be opening it to someone who saw me as a resource, not a person. I called the police. Ma'am, do you know this person? The officer asked me 20 minutes later. She's my daughter. But I've asked her to leave and she won't. Rebecca stood on the sidewalk, arms crossed, face blotchy with tears or rage or both. This is insane. She's my mother. Someone's convinced her I'm trying to hurt her, but I'm trying to protect her. She's not well. The officer looked at me. I looked back, steady. I'm perfectly well, I said, and I want her to leave my property. Ma'am, if your mother is asking you to leave, she's being manipulated, Rebecca cut in. Probably by some attorney trying to get her money. My mother has early-stage dementia. She doesn't know what she's saying. I don't have dementia, I said clearly. I have a daughter who stole $47,000 from me and is upset I've cut off her access to the rest. The officer's expression shifted. Is that true, ma'am? Rebecca's face went white, then red. That's not... I had power of attorney. I was managing her affairs. Everything I did was legal. Having power of attorney doesn't give you permission to steal, the officer said. It means you're supposed to act in her best interest, not your own. They made Rebecca leave. I watched her drive away, tires squealing slightly as she pulled out too fast, and I felt both triumphant and completely gutted. That night, alone in the house, I sat in Daniel's chair and imagined what he'd say about all this. You did the right thing. Patty? I could hear him saying in that gruff, gentle voice. Family doesn't mean doormat, but it still hurt like hell. The calls started the next day. First from Rebecca's husband, Carlos, who I'd always liked. Patricia, what's going on? Rebecca came home crying, saying you called the cops on her. Did she tell you why? A pause. She said there was a misunderstanding about some money. That she was trying to help you. She took $47,000 without asking me. That's not a misunderstanding, Carlos. That's theft. She said she had power of attorney, which she obtained under false pretenses and used to steal from me. Ask her to show you the bank statements. Ask her what she spent it on. Then call me back if you still think I'm the one in the wrong. He didn't call back. Then came the calls from friends. From Rebecca's friends, really, but women I'd known for years through her. Patricia, I'm so sorry to hear about your memory problems. I don't have memory problems. Rebecca said you've been forgetting things. Getting confused about money? I'm not confused. I'm protecting myself. Oh, honey, I'm sure it feels that way, but sometimes when we get older... I hung up. Then I blocked the number. The worst was when my sister called. Nancy, my baby sister, still in Arizona, who I'd always been close to. Patty, Rebecca called me. She's worried about you. Nancy, she stole from me. She said she was helping you pay bills. Without asking. Without telling me. And she's been setting me up to look incompetent so she can take more. Nancy was quiet for a moment. Patty, I love you. But Rebecca's right that you haven't been yourself since Daniel died. Maybe you're not seeing things clearly. I'm seeing them perfectly clearly for the first time in months. And if you can't support me, then don't call me again. I hung up on my sister, my baby sister, the one I'd helped raise when our mother was sick, the one I'd sent money to when she was struggling. That night I cried so hard I threw up. Margaret wasn't just an attorney. She was a strategist. They're going to try to have you declared incompetent, she told me in her office a week later. That's the next move. They'll file for guardianship, claim you're a danger to yourself, that you're being manipulated by me. Can they do that? They can try, but we're going to make sure they fail. Over the next month, I did things I'd never imagined doing. I underwent a complete cognitive evaluation with a neuropsychologist Margaret recommended. The doctor put me through hours of testing. Memory, reasoning, problem solving. I aced it all. Mrs. Hoffman, your cognitive function is excellent, Dr. Ramirez told me, smiling. Better than many people half your age. There's no indication of dementia or any form of cognitive impairment. I asked him to put it in writing. He did. Margaret also had me meet with my primary care physician, Dr. Walsh, who I'd been seeing for 20 years. Patricia, you're one of the sharpest patients I have, he said, shaking his head when I explained the situation. Anyone claiming you're incompetent is lying. He put that in writing too. We gathered bank statements, showing not just the $47,000 Rebecca had taken, but a pattern of smaller transfers going back months. $500 here, $200 there. Money she'd been siphoning off so gradually I hadn't noticed until the big transfers triggered the bank's fraud detection. All told, she'd taken nearly $65,000. Here's what I recommend, Margaret said, laying out a file. We sue her. Civil case for financial exploitation. We also file a complaint with adult protective services and provide all this documentation to the police for potential criminal charges. She's my daughter. She's a thief who happens to be your daughter. There's a difference. I thought about Sophia and Marcus, my grandchildren. About birthdays I wouldn't be invited to, school plays I'd miss, the weddings I might not live to see. Then I thought about the life Daniel and I had built, the sacrifices we'd made, the future we'd planned, and how Rebecca had seen it all as her inheritance to claim early, with or without my permission. Do it, I said. The guardianship hearing came first. Rebecca filed it 2 weeks after I cut off her access, claiming I was mentally incompetent and being financially exploited by unscrupulous parties, meaning Margaret. We met in a small courtroom that smelled like old wood and disappointment. Rebecca sat with her attorney, a slick man in an expensive suit who kept checking his phone. I sat with Margaret, wearing the navy dress I'd worn to Daniel's funeral, because it made me feel strong. The judge was a woman in her 60s named Patricia O'Brien. I took it as a good sign that we shared a name. Rebecca's attorney went first. He painted a picture of a grieving widow, confused and vulnerable, who'd fallen under the influence of a predatory attorney who'd convinced her to turn against her loving daughter. Your Honor, Mrs. Hoffman has always had a close relationship with her daughter. Since Mr. Hoffman's death, Rebecca has been her primary caregiver, managing her affairs, ensuring her well-being. This sudden turn, these accusations, are completely out of character. We believe Mrs. Hoffman is experiencing cognitive decline and is not capable of making sound decisions about her own care. Then Margaret stood up. She submitted Dr. Ramirez's cognitive evaluation, Dr. Walsh's letter, statements from my friends at the community center where I volunteered twice a week, a letter from my book club president stating I was the most active, engaged member they had. Then she showed the bank statements. Your Honor, the pattern here is clear. Rebecca Hoffman Martinez had access to her mother's accounts and used that access to systematically drain those accounts. When Mrs. Hoffman discovered this and took steps to protect herself, Ms. Hoffman Martinez filed this guardianship petition. This isn't about protecting a vulnerable elder. This is about regaining access to money that was being rightfully protected. Judge O'Brien looked at Rebecca. Ms. Hoffman Martinez, did you take money from your mother's accounts without her explicit permission? Rebecca's face was pale. I had power of attorney. I was managing, that's not what I asked. Did you take money without asking her first? A long pause. Yes, but there's no but. Power of attorney obligates you to act in your parents' best interest, not your own. This petition is denied. The gavel came down like thunder. Rebecca tried to speak to me as we left the courtroom. I walked past her without a word. The civil case took longer. Rebecca hired a different attorney. Better this time. Someone who actually seemed to care about the case. They filed countersuit, claiming I owed Rebecca for caretaking services she'd provided after Daniel died. It was absurd. It was also expensive to fight. 6 months in, Margaret came to me with a settlement offer. They'll return $40,000 of the $65,000 she took. You drop the suit and sign an agreement not to pursue criminal charges. I sat in Margaret's office, looking at the numbers, getting back 2/3 of what was stolen. No criminal record for Rebecca, no trial, no more court dates, no more lawyers' fees eating into what was left. What do you think I should do? I asked. Margaret leaned back in her chair. Honestly, take it. You've already won what matters. You've protected yourself. You've established a legal record that shows exactly what she did. You've shown your grandchildren, your family, everyone that you won't be victimized. The money? The money matters less than that. I thought about it for a week. Then I accepted the settlement. The day the check came, I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. A year has passed since that morning in my kitchen when Rebecca tried to convince me I needed supervision. A year since I realized my daughter saw me as a bank account with a heartbeat. I live alone still, in the same house. The locks are different. So is the woman who lives behind them. I volunteer at the library now, reading to children every Tuesday morning. I've joined a painting class at the senior center. I've traveled, took a trip to Maine, something Daniel always wanted to do, scattered some of his ashes off a rocky beach while the wind tried to steal my hat. I've made new friends. Real friends. Women who see me as Patricia, not as someone's mother or someone's wallet. We have coffee, we laugh. We talk about our lives, our regrets, our small rebellions. I haven't spoken to Rebecca. Not once. She sends cards sometimes, birthdays, holidays. I don't open them. They go straight into a box in my closet, unopened and unread. I've seen the kids twice, both times by accident. Once at the grocery store, where Sophia saw me and ran over before Rebecca could stop her. "Grandma!" "Grandma, I miss you." I hugged her tight, breathing in her strawberry shampoo. "I miss you too, sweetheart." Rebecca appeared, face tight. "Sophia, come here." "Why can't we see Grandma anymore?" Sophia asked, looking between us. "Because Grandma is sick and doesn't want visitors," Rebecca said. I looked at my daughter. "I'm not sick, Sophia, and I do want visitors. But your mother and I had a disagreement about honesty and respect. Mom, don't—" "You're always welcome at my house, Sophia. You and Marcus both. You just have to call first." Rebecca pulled Sophia away, but the look on my granddaughter's face told me she'd heard. She'd heard, and maybe one day when she's older, she'll ask more questions. She'll wonder why her mother pulled her away from her grandmother in a grocery store. And maybe she'll remember that her grandmother said she was always welcome. That's all I can hope for now. People ask me sometimes if I regret what I did. If I wish I'd handled it differently, tried harder to work it out, been more forgiving. The answer is no. Not because I don't love my daughter. I do. I probably always will, the way you can't stop loving someone you carried inside your body, someone you stayed up with through fevers and nightmares, someone you taught to read and ride a bike. But loving someone doesn't mean letting them destroy you. I learned that abuse doesn't always look like violence. Sometimes it looks like care. Sometimes it looks like help. Sometimes it wears the face of someone who says they love you while draining your bank account and building a case for why you can't be trusted to manage your own life. I learned that asking for what you deserve isn't cruel. Setting boundaries isn't abandonment. Protecting yourself isn't selfish. I learned that age doesn't make you less valuable. Grief doesn't make you incompetent. And needing help sometimes doesn't mean surrendering control over your entire life. Most importantly, I learned that I could survive losing my daughter's presence in my life. It hurt. God, it still hurts, but I survived it. And in surviving it, I found something I didn't expect. Myself. Not Patricia Hoffman, Daniel's wife. Not Patricia Hoffman, Rebecca's mother. Just Patricia. A woman who's made mistakes, who's been hurt, who's fought back, who's still here, still standing, still sharp, still strong. On good days, I sit on my back porch with my coffee and watch the leaves change colors, and I feel something close to peace. On bad days, I cry for the family I thought I had and the grandmother role I lost. But every day, I wake up knowing that I'm safe. That my home is mine. That my money is mine. That my choices are mine. Every day, I wake up free. And that, I've learned, is worth more than any amount of money my daughter could have stolen. If you're reading this and seeing yourself in my story, I want you to know something. You're not alone. You're not crazy. And you're not being cruel if you protect yourself. Financial exploitation of elders is one of the fastest growing forms of abuse in this country. It happens in the shadows, in the gaps between what family members say and what they do. It thrives on shame, our shame at being taken advantage of, our embarrassment at admitting our own children would hurt us. But shame is their weapon, not ours. Here's what I wish someone had told me earlier. You have the right to control your own money, no matter your age. You have the right to say no to family members who ask for financial help. You have the right to remove people from your accounts, your home, and your life if they abuse your trust. You have the right to ask questions, demand receipts, and verify information. You have the right to change your mind about arrangements you made when you were grieving, confused, or pressured. Most importantly, you have the right to protect yourself, even from people you love. If someone is taking advantage of you, please reach out. Call your local area agency on aging. Call Adult Protective Services. Call an elder law attorney. There are people who will believe you and help you. You are not a burden. You are not a resource. You are a person with rights, dignity, and value. Don't wait as long as I did to remember that. They say the best revenge is living well. I don't know if that's true. What I do know is that the best defense is living honestly, protecting fiercely, and refusing to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. I'm 79 now. My hair is white, my hands shake sometimes, and I need reading glasses to see anything smaller than a billboard. But I'm here. I'm whole. I'm free. And I'm telling my story because someone needs to hear it. Someone sitting in their kitchen right now, wondering if they're overreacting. Someone whose daughter or son or niece or nephew has just asked to be added to their bank account just in case. Someone who's being told they're too old, too confused, too emotional to make their own decisions. You're not. Trust yourself. Protect yourself. Choose yourself. Because the people who truly love you will never ask you to stop doing those things. The ones who do, they're showing you exactly who they are. Believe them. If this story reached you, if it made you feel seen, if it reminded you that age doesn't mean powerlessness, then I ask you to do something. Subscribe to Grandma True Stories. This is where we tell the stories that need telling. The ones about women who survived, who fought back, who refused to become victims. The stories about standing up, speaking out, and choosing dignity over comfort. We don't whisper here. We speak clearly, honestly, and loudly. Enough that others can hear us and know they're not alone. Because every grandmother who tells her truth is a lighthouse for someone else still lost in the storm. If you believe that your voice matters, that your experience counts, that your worth doesn't expire, then join us. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you never miss another one. Leave a comment telling us your story, because we're listening. And if you're going through something like this right now, please know we see you. We believe you, and you're not alone. This is Grandma True Stories, where silenced women find their voices, where stolen power gets reclaimed, where the truth lives, even when it's hard to speak. Subscribe today, because the world needs to hear what grandmothers have to say, and we're just getting started. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and leave a comment below to share your thoughts. Your support helps us grow and brings more awesome videos to you.